So I have been successfully selling hinge jigs for quite some time, and I get a lot of questions and a lot of discussion around hinge jigs and the type of hinge jigs and how they work and all the rest of it. And I also get lots of suggestions as well. Now I want to show you what I do with the existing frames. Now I've taken the stops out of the existing frames because they weren't very good. The doors weren't very true. So we've taken the stops out. So it's similar to having a new lining now effectively. But sometimes you'll have an architrave on that you won't want to take off. So using the aluminium jig, you can also use the MDF version. It's just the fact I'm testing out the aluminium one at the moment. I've made a story stick and I've also recessed the hinges in for the lining. I could also use this on the door if I wanted, but once I've got it on the door, I'd just use this. It's a lot quicker and much more simple. So the reason I've done this is so I can just go straight the way around now. In this case, I can't use the jig here because there's a trim that we put on for the plasterers. So in this room, I could use the jig because I've got a sub-lining which we've added on to the new thickness of the wall. And so the aluminium jig would just go straight in there, clamp it and route it out. Now I'm actually using an offcut of material. It's a 12mm ply and it's got a laminate on the sides as well. And what I'm going to do with that is make a story stick. But I'm also going to be using my hinge jig. This is the aluminium version. It's a prototype aluminium version. And I'm going to be actually cutting all the way through the plywood to form a basic hinge jig for the door lining. So they'll have the 3 cutouts on them. So the idea of that is I'll be able to stand them in position and use this as a sort of template for everything. So I haven't got to use my hinge jig where the architraves are. So I'm going to get on, cut these out, get it all ready and go and route all the door linings. So it's a matter of clamping my hinge jig on. I've got this marked, so the top hinge, the bottom hinge, the middle hinge. So I'm almost all the way through. To finish that off, again, they're bearing guided, so it's going to follow perfectly that and cut it clean out. You can see what I mean. You can see what it's doing. The bearing is following that. And it's just taking that little bit in the middle out. So I'm going to do this 3 times and then I've got my story stick. So this is the top. So there'll be an arrow to the top here. That hits the lining. So the idea is I've got my template cutter here. This is also one of our prototypes with a narrow cutter, so we can start making our hinge jigs even thinner to actually keep the cost down, which is all good for the environment and sustainability and selling to people who want to buy stuff. So therefore that's roughly what we're going to take out. I'm going to get on and do this one. I'll get my ear defenders on. I'll start at the bottom. This section of timber that you saw me make, we use a screw behind the stop position And it can screw in knowing that when we hang the door and put the door stop in, it's going to be absolutely perfect. So now all we've got to do is just square those up. You can use a corner chisel, or I'll just use a normal wood chisel here. And then that's it, the hinges are done. And then we simply mark the hinge positions across from the frame, and then we use our hinge jig, clamp it straight on, route them out. It's so quick. So that is the benefit of making up something with a scrap of timber. It could be plywood, it could be MDF, as you could use 12mm, you could even use 18mm, providing you've got a long enough template cutter.